let's get to the political realities. Actually, Senator, let's move to the political realities. When you go and see the president and talk to him about Copenhagen, you will observe that there will be three huge piles of business on his desk. One marked struggling car industry, auto industry, another marked struggling financial services industry, another marked fiscal stimulus stroke general macroeconomy. You're going to try and put a big file marked Copenhagen on his desk. What are the realities of somebody in that office of President of the United States trying to engage with these issues at a time when the entire world is in its worst global recession, global downturn, but developed countries in a severe recession, the worst shape that the global economy has been since World War II?
It's very simple, folks. First of all, this recession is going to end. All recessions do. We're going to come out of this. The question is, how are we going to come out of this? I will tell you today, Detroit is not coming out of this going back to building big clunker cars that consume a lot of gas and that many people don't find as competitive to some of the alternative cars in the marketplace. It's just not going to happen. That's not their future. The age of the Hummer is over. And so, where is Detroit's future? Well, all you have to do is pick up the New York Times a month ago. In the right-hand column, there was a story about China intending to be the world's leader in electric automobiles. Now, we produce a lot of energy here in America every day. We waste more than anybody else in the world. You can go to Europe and you come out of a hotel room and your lights are off and boom, you move and the lights go on. You walk down the hall, the lights go out. As you go down the hall, up in front of you, you get in an escalator, they all go out. You go on an escalator, it's not working. You walk up to it, suddenly it's working. You get off it, nobody else is coming, it stops. In America, the escalators are going 365 days a year, 24/7. You get on them, and they're still going, waiting for someone 1,000 miles away to come and get on the escalator. It's absurd. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a transformation, I think, in our auto industry. You can use that electricity at night when the same amount of electricity is produced but not used because there are people sleeping, and plug in. And my wife and I bought a car the other day, a Prius, I regret to say, because I'd love to have bought American. We have an A123 battery in it. It produced, designed in Watertown, Massachusetts, but unfortunately built in China, though we're now starting to say, let's build them in Detroit. That's the future. And so if I get 170 miles to the gallon, I can play a game with myself, which is trying to keep the engine from cutting in as I drive into the office here. And the other day I drove in and I had 9 seconds total where the engine actually cut in, and I used gasoline. We can change the practices of people, and I think that's the future of Detroit. The president understands this. The president is committed to transforming the American economy. Green is not just, an idea. Green is money. Green is, successful companies that do this. And the fact is, one of the richest people in China today, billionaire, young man in his 30s, is in solar. China is racing ahead on solar. And I tell you, we're going to be pushing China for the next 5 years, but I'll bet you 5 years after that, every single one of us, Europe and the United States, is going to be chasing China because they're making this commitment and they're moving forward in it. President Obama understands that. And so, if you look at the McKinsey company study that I just mentioned, if 35% of this is paid for in the first years, up front, you're not talking about a drag on the economy. You're actually talking about lifting a drag off of the economy. And once the economy starts to move in this direction, the costs that are way downstream, 5, 10, 15 years ago, that are the more difficult pieces to get, are going to happen because you've moved down the road of technology and of development, and you have new standards in place. The truth is that as I stand here today, we have the technology to produce 6 times the electricity needs of the entire United States of America from 100 square miles of the southwest of our country with concentrated solar and solar thermal. Why do we not do it? Because we have oil and gas and coal and others who push back, but also because we don't have a grid system that allows us to transfer that from that part of the country to the other part of the country. So what we need to do in the next days, and I believe we're going to do it, is set up a series of rules where we can begin to say to the private sector, you should and could invest in this now, because we're going to guarantee you we have the lines in place so you can get a return on the investment, and off we go. All of a sudden, that becomes an attractive market. President Obama understands that. He's already made the commitment yesterday in Iowa. He gave a major speech talking about these options, and we're going to put them in place. I hate to say this, but I have to go chair a hearing of the Foreign Relations Committee, and so I have to end this. But I really want to thank you so much for the privilege of being able to share this with you and for everybody here.
Can I ask you very briefly, Senator, before we wish you Godspeed on you, to very, very briefly, in about 10, 15 seconds, your message to business. This is a Business for the Environment conference. We have a large number of distinguished business representatives here. What would you say to them in just a couple of sentences?
This global climate change is not just an environmental issue. In fact, the environmental part of it now, I would say to you, is a byproduct of the 2 most important pieces, which are global national security and business making money. This is the economic future. As I said earlier, there will be Google equivalents that are absolutely going to be created in these sectors over the course of the next 10, 15 years. If I were in the private sector today, I can tell you I would be racing to this particular effort. If you look at information technology is a $1 trillion plus market, and about 1.5 billion people use it. Energy is a $6 trillion market, and 4 billion people are currently users. So look at your business model and shift it. And I've heard more oil people who are shifting into being energy companies, not just oil companies, because they understand the need to transform their business model. Je vous remercie. Au revoir. Je vous verrai à Paris.
Thank you very much indeed, Senator Kerry, Senator John Kerry. Thank you very much indeed from Paris.